So let's talk about the transition from 1 to 2 kids. I just recently went through this transition and it was something that was on my mind a lot, and I see a lot of people talking about online. I will say right off the bat, I think that the transition from 2 kids or from 1 kids to 2 kids is easier than from 0 to 1. The reason I think that is because it's such a huge life change when you have your first baby. Like, your whole lifestyle has to change. Yes, you can still take them to do all the same things, but just going from not having anybody to take care of to having somebody to take care of is a big change. One thing I have really enjoyed this time around postpartum is just feeling a better sense of confidence that I know what I'm doing, especially with things like breastfeeding and sleep. I just have a lot more confidence that I know what to do for my baby because I've done it before. Also, already in the mode of taking care of another little person, so adding one more to that doesn't feel like as big of a change or as big of a deal as it did. Not that transition was that hard for me. My first child had a really chill temperament, so that wasn't so bad from 0 to 1 for me, but it still was a change. The other part that's been easier about the transition from 1 to 2 is also just knowing that all of the hard phases that you go through, that they pass, and that nothing is permanently broken or no permanent damage done. Like with sleeping, with my first, she'd be sleeping well, and then she'd go through a sleep regression, and then I would worry like she's just not gonna sleep anymore. And that's typically not the case for most kids, but as a new mom, you kind of feel like it is. So it's nice just knowing when we have a bad day or a couple of bad days, it's nice having that sense of this too shall pass. So now I want to talk about some of the things that have been a little bit harder about transitioning from 1 to 2. The first thing just being that obviously your attention is divided, and depending on your age gap, I can see this being harder for some than others. Our age gap is about 3.5 years, so my attention is divided, but my daughter is a little bit more independent because she's a little bit older. I can see if our kids were a little closer in age, this would be even more tricky, but there is a hard part or a sadness with not being able to give your first child the level of attention that you previously did. I've been kind of combating that just with trying to make sure I'm getting intentional time with my daughter, taking the time when my baby is sleeping to make sure that she's getting that one-on-one time, and making sure just being a little more intentional about that has helped offset some of that. Okay, another thing that has been tricky is just finding a new rhythm of how to do life and how to do all the things that I want to get done outside of motherhood alongside with prioritizing motherhood, which is really important to me. I would say this is a little bit more challenging when you transition from 1 to 2, just because your bandwidth is reduced. There's just less of you to go around. And when it comes to things that I do, goals I'm trying to accomplish, I just have had to really relook at my systems and find ways to reduce decision fatigue and be a little bit more methodical with my schedule. So like a real life example of that is I've been more diligent about getting up before my kids wake up in the morning. Not that I do it every day, but I'm definitely doing it more often at this phase than I did with my first. And just having that quiet in the morning to get set up for the day, fit in a workout, just kind of collect myself, just really helps me enjoy my day as a mom a lot more. I know everyone hates that advice. Another thing that I am not an expert in, but that I'm learning, is just how to maximize the things that I'm already doing. So for instance, if I am cooking a meal, I'm cooking enough to make sure that I have meal prepped a few meals for us with that meal, or a couple of lunches. Or for instance, this week, something that really helped me was I actually picked out my workout clothes for the whole week on Sunday, and I just didn't have to think about it. And what do you know? I worked out 5 days this week, which really helps me feel more like myself, but setting myself up for success so I have less decisions to make has really been helpful. And then the last thing that I have just really been focusing on is just remembering that this is a season. So my son, my baby, is about 3.5, 4 months old, and I know that his needs are higher, but I have enough experience now to know that as he gets a little bit older, he won't need me to hold him as much, and he won't need as much support with sleep and things like that. And so while more difficult to support 2 kids at once, just because there's less of me to go around, that experience does help me know that while I'm in a season where maybe I'm not accomplishing as much in my day-to-day as I would like to, in addition to caring for my kids, which again to me is the most important thing I can be doing with my time as a stay-at-home mom. I also just know it's gonna get easier. So if I just keep trying and keep doing my best, I know with time it's gonna get easier. My baby will learn to have a little bit more time with independent play like my daughter has, and we'll just kind of get it figured out with time. So anyways, I have some other ideas and tips of things that have been helping me with the transition from 1 to 2 to still feel like myself, to work on my goals and work on things that I want to do. So comment down below if you want to hear more of the things I've been trying that have been working.